The following matchup is being played with HistoryMaker Baseball Express, a fast-playing baseball simulation board game, a property of Play Games LLC, copyright 2022, all rights reserved. Welcome to today's episode of the HistoryMaker Baseball Express Hour. In today's episode, do we have a good treat for you on hand as we are going to feature a Midwestern Feel World Series as we are going to rewind the clock back to 1982 and feature the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers as we relive their classic World Series battle on the latest installment of World Series Rewind. Who will come on top of this matchup? Stay tuned to find out because first pitch for game one is just around the corner. But first, let's have a little look and say thank you to our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's episode of World Series Rewind as part of the HistoryMaker Baseball Express Hour. We would like to take this time to say thank you to our official Play Game sponsors for sponsoring today's episode of the HistoryMaker Baseball Express Hour. First and foremost, thank you to Bitty Beer for sponsoring every mid-game and end-of-game summary throughout every episode of the HistoryMaker Baseball Express Hour. And again, we remind you, if you choose to drink Bitty Beer, please remember to drink responsibly. As always, it has big taste at a bitty price. It's Bitty Beer. They say it's a blend of hops, rice, and barley that gives Bitty Beer its distinctive taste, but we know better. It's our brewing process that gives our beer that one-of-a-kind flavor that no premium beer can match. Our bats have never been cleaned, so there's an itty-bitty bit of history in every can. Bitty Beer, the beer for folks who can't afford better. And by Doc Cola, the official cola drink of the Play Games community. And every game that we go to extra innings, it is a Doc Cola extra innings ball game. Doc Cola uses the finest imitation ingredients to bring you that sugary blast of caffeine you've come to know and love. With twice the sugar and 3 times the caffeine of any other major brand, Doc Cola is sure to keep you wired from dawn till dusk. So take the Doc Cola challenge and see why our customers agree you'll never be able to wean yourself from a refreshing Doc Cola. And by Pizza Kingdom. At Pizza Kingdom, our signature New York style pizza starts with the crust. Then we layer on a homemade pizza sauce and then load your pizza up with mounds of cheese. When it comes out of the oven, it's piping hot, golden brown, and ready for you to enjoy. And then we give that majestic culinary work of art to Mickey, our 16-year-old delivery driver who's as responsible as a tree stump. Pizza Kingdom, it's sheer perfection when it left the store. And by Suncoast Capital. At Suncoast, we live by one simple rule of investing. When your clients win, we win. And when our clients lose, we win, sort of. Suncoast Capital. You know we're gonna get all of your money anyway. And by Rubicon Wireless. Why pay $200 a month for wireless service when you can get 4 lines for just $25 a month? With our tin can plan, you can access our wireless network that covers at least 25% coast to coast between the hours 11 p.m. and 4:30 a.m. with unlimited text and messaging between those hours, of course. So why pay for a service you cannot live without? And with that being said, we're just about set and ready to go for game one of this episode of World Series Rewind, as we are featuring the 1982 Fall Classic between the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals. How does this kind of resemble the movie Field of Dreams? Well, if you think about it, Milwaukee and St. Louis are both in the Midwest. The movie was set based in the Midwest. So you kind of hoping that it is a Midwestern feel to this World Series. With this World Series matchup? So with that being said, let's get right down to it. As your pitching matchup for Game One is as follows: Joaquin Andujar will be on the hill for the Cardinals, and Mike Caldwell will be on the hill for the Milwaukee Brewers. Andujar has semi-ace, semi-flash, and double control, while Mike Caldwell has control. With that being said, Paul Molitor is all set and ready to go. So is Andujar. Let's get Game One underway for this episode of World Series Rewind. We'll begin Game One of this episode of World Series Rewind with a 3-3-5. Struggler on Andujar. He's not. Champ on Molitor. He's not. That's going to be a no runs result of a 5 blank, and that is going to seal up the deal for the first half inning of play. It's Brewers nothing, and the Cardinals are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. One, 4, 6. Acer dynamic on Caldwell. No. 1, 4, 6. Here we are. Sad sack on Tom Hare. He's not a sad sack. Nope. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Caldwell has control, so therefore it will be a men on base a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Caldwell has control, so therefore that 6 will be reduced to a 5, and that'll place the runners on at second and third for Lonnie Smith. He will bat off the men on base chart with a 36. Active batter gets runners advance 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Lonnie Smith is an active runner, so therefore he's going to get a runners advance 2 bases single. The Cardinals are going to jump ahead of the Brewers 2-0, and that is going to place Lonnie Smith on at second base with a single and a stolen base. And that is going to bring up Keith Hernandez off of the men on base chart. 14. Scrapper hits single. Keith Hernandez is a semi-scrapper, and the decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, he's going to hit a single, and nothing more will come the Cardinals' way. So therefore, that is going to do it for the first inning of play. The Cardinals jump in front of the Brew Crew 2-0. 4-4-6. Star on Andujar. No. 4-4-6. Here we are. Hero on Robin Yount. He's not a hero. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Robin Yount has slugger. The black die is a 6. There she goes, folks, deep into the St. Louis night, as Robin Yount will get the Brewers on the board thanks to a solo home run. And it is now Cardinals 2 and the Brewers 1 as we enter play in the bottom half of the second inning. Two, 3, 4. Pitcher not fresh. Well, Caldwell is still fresh. So therefore, we ask, is George Hendrick a here we are. Sad sack batter. He's not. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Caldwell has control. They're going to not play. They're not going to play go big or go home yet. So they're going to place runners on first and second for Daryl Porter, the catcher for the Cardinals. He will bat off the men on base chart with a 16. Good eye? No, Porter does not have a good eye. So therefore, it will be a strikeout. The score stays 2-1 in favor of the St. Louis Cardinals as we head to the third inning of play here for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 116. Struggler on Andujar. No. Utility on Cecil Cooper. He is not a utility. So therefore, that's going to be an RBI question mark. And folks, Cecil Cooper has tied up the game. Struggler, no. Utility, no. Yes, he just tied up the game. But look, the black die is a 6. That takes it from a tie ball game to a 1-run lead for the Brewers as Cecil Cooper will get not one RBI, but 2 RBIs. Because there is a rule in History Maker Baseball Express that if an RBI question mark comes up and if the black die is a 6 and the decider die is showing dot, it's not only 1 RBI, it's 2 RBIs. So with that being said, the Brewers lead the Cardinals 3-2 here in game 1 of this episode of a World Series Rewind as part of Field of Dreams Week here for the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. Triple four. So this is going to be an umpire check. So we ask, and again, I play my umpires as rotisserie umps. So that way every umpire has every quality, all semi though. If they have it, they have it. They don't, they don't. So we ask, hey, Blue, what's the call? 3. Do we have a respected third base umpire? It seems we do. So no runs will come the way of Mike Caldwell. Will use the main die of the main 3D6 roll of 4 and the main decider die roll, as it will be a no runs result, ending the first 3 innings here at Busch Stadium with your score: Brewers 3, Cardinals 2. 135. Ace on Andujar. He's a semi-ace, and the decider die says he's not. Champ on Ted Simmons. He's not a champ. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 1 blank. And that is going to seal up the deal for the first 3.5 innings here at Busch Stadium with your score: Brewers 3 and the Cardinals 2 here for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 135. Ace on Caldwell. He's not. Champ on Oberkfell. He is not. Therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 3 blank. That is going to send us to the 5th inning here at Busch Stadium with your score: still anybody's game. Brewers 3, Cardinals 2 here for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 233. Ace on Andujar. He is a semi-ace. The decider die says he is. So therefore, that is going to be a no runs result of a 3 blank. And that is going to send us to the bottom half of the 5th inning here at Busch Stadium with your score: Brewers 3, Cardinals 2. 245. Struggler on, Struggler on Caldwell. He's not. Sad sack on Ozzie Smith. He is not. Sad sack on Smith. He is not. Okay, so I did read that right. Sorry. So it'll be a men on base result, -1 for the black die if flash or control. Mike Caldwell has control. 4 to a 3. Go big or go home. They're placing the wizard Ozzie Smith on at third base for Tom Hare. He'll bat off the men on base chart with a 22. Batting at home, you better believe it that the Cardinals are batting at home. So therefore, that is going to be a single to tie up the ball game. So Tom Hare brings home Ozzie Smith as he ties up the game at 3. And we still remain on the men on base chart for Lonnie Smith. 25. Iron fielder commits the error. Gorman Thomas is not an iron fielder, so therefore That is going to be a ground out to end the bottom half of the fifth, but not before Tom Hare delivers an RBI single, scoring the Wizard Ozzie Smith to tie up the ball game at 3-all here for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. We got triple sixes. Oh, yikes. This is going to be an injury check, and it seems it'll end up being a no runs result anyway. So a 6 blank, no runs result for Joaquin Andujar. But who is going to be replaced? We'll roll the red die for this one. It's a 1. Replace current batter with reserve player. Yikes. Charlie Moore is the active batter. He is going to be injured for the rest of this ball game. He'll sit out a game, and hopefully he'll be back for Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. We'll have a new position out, a new player out in right field, and possibly a new pitcher for Milwaukee as well, because we do see a new bullpen arm trotting in for the bullpen. We'll find out who that is after we take this really quick timeout. On our way to the bottom half of the 6th inning here at Busch Stadium, as we have a new right fielder patrolling out in the field, as Marshall Edwards will be the new right fielder coming into the ball game, as he has Semi Scrapper, Eager, and Good Eye. And we do see a new pitcher on the mound for the Brew Crew, as we have Dwight Bernard out on the mound, as he has Semi Flash and Semi Control for this at bat against Lonnie Smith batted. Yes, he did bat. So it's on Keith Hernandez now. So just to make sure I had the right batter up, one more quick timeout to make sure I got the batter correct. Timeout. And after further review, it indeed Lonnie Smith did bat. So Keith Hernandez will be the batter for this appearance for Dwight Bernard to start the appearance for Dwight Bernard. For this at bat against Keith Hernandez, Bernard will have the full extent use of the flash quality. With that being said, the Brewers and Cardinals are all knotted up at 3 apiece here in the bottom half of the 6th here at Busch Stadium for Game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 3-4-5. Star pitcher on Bernard. He's not. Sad sack on Hernandez. No. That's going to be a men on base result with a -1 for the black die, a flash of control. Remember, we gave Bernard the full flash, so therefore that 3 will be reduced to a 2, and it seems, according to the decider die, he has control. So therefore, that 3 will be reduced to a 1, putting the runner on at first base for George Hendrick to hit off the men on base chart. 36. Active batter gets runners advanced 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Hendrick is not an active runner, so therefore it will be a contact result. Red die comes back out once more. It's a 1. Okay, so first things first, we're going to look for a flash pitcher versus a whiffer batter. It seems we have both semi-flash and semi-whiffer. However, here's how we're going to do it. We'll take this decider die roll for the flash. So Bernard is a flash pitcher. Is Hendrick a whiffer batter? He is not. So therefore, it will be a run for the Cardinals, as they will jump up in front to take the lead 4-3 after 6 innings of play. 2-2-3. Ace on Andujar. He's a semi-ace, and the decider die says yes, he is. That'll be a no runs result of a 3 blank. It's time to stretch here at Busch Memorial Stadium with your score: Cardinals 4 and the Brewers 3. Nice job, well done by the fine folks here at Bush Memorial Stadium as they sing a good rendition of Take Me Out to the Ball Game, along with a beautiful chorus of God Bless America. And Dwight Bernard will be trotting his way back out to the mound with a 3-4-5. Star on Bernard, no. Satsack on Porter, no. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if flash or control. Bernard has semi-flash and semi-control. The decider die was not used. Okay, so it was not used. So we'll keep this roll for dot for flash. Does he have control? He does. So 5 -2 is 3. They're going to place runners on at first and second. They're not going to go big or go home just yet. So they are going to go for Willie McGee on the men on base chart with a 24. Goldfielder makes the out. Paul Molitor is not gold. Therefore, it's going to be an error to load the bases for our next batter, Ken Oberkfell. He will bat off the men on base chart with a 34. Slugger hits double. Oberkfell is not is not a slugger. Therefore, it's going to be a single. 2 runs are going to come across to score as the runner on third scores and the runner on second scores, making it a 6-3 ball game. The runner on first goes to third and nothing more. So that's going to do it for the first 7 innings here at Bush Memorial Stadium with your score, Cardinals 6 and the Brewers 3. Andujar is back out there on the mound with a 2-3-4. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're way past the freshest innings. So therefore, it will be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Robin Yount is a neutral runner. That is going to place the runners at the corners for Cecil Cooper. The bullpen is starting to get loose and warmed up just in case if Andujar falters here in this half inning. We go to the men on base chart with a 36. Active batter gets runners advance 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Cecil Cooper is not an active runner, so therefore it will be a contact result. And it is a 3. Stats or utility. Cecil Cooper is neither. Oh man, the lead is cut in half. Or excuse me, it was cut in half, but it's a 2-run ball game as the Cardinals still lead it 6-4, thanks to a Cecil Cooper RBI for the Brew Crew. We head to the bottom of the 8th here at Bush Memorial Stadium with your score: Cardinals 6 and the Brewers 4. 4-4-5. 4-4-5. Here we are. Workman on Bernard. He's not. Hero batter on Ozzie Smith. He's not. That's going to be a no runs result with a normal no runs result. So therefore, it'll be a 5 blank for Flash and a dot for Control. We head to the top half of the 9th. Last call for the Brewers. Down by 2. It's 6-4 Cardinals as we head to the 9th inning here for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind. 1-2-4. Ace on Andujar as the manager for the Cardinals is letting him finish up this contest. He is a semi-ace, and the decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result of a 2 blank, and that is going to be the ball game. The final score for game 1 of this episode of World Series Rewind sees the Cardinals knock off the Brewers by the final score of 6-4. And we welcome you back to this episode of World Series Rewind as we are getting set and ready to go for game two with the now this game with the Cardinals in front of the Brewers, 1-0 in this World Series Rewind matchup in this 3-game set. If the Cardinals win this game, they win the entire episode and they will set up the sweep back at Busch Stadium for game three. If the Brewers win, they will set up the ever dangerous and ever entertaining to watch winner take all matchup. With that being said, we are from the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for game two of this episode of World Series Rewind. As your starting probables for this game two is going to be Pete Vukovich for the Milwaukee Brewers and Bob Forsch for the Cardinals. Dane Iorg will be the DH for the Cardinals. Marshall Edwards will stay in and play right field for this ball game. And the DH for the Milwaukee Brewers will be Don Money. With that being said, it's time to play ball for game two of this episode of World Series Rewind. Tom Hare is ready to lead things off. Vukovich is ready to go. Let's get to it here from the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for game two of this episode of World Series Rewind. We'll begin game two of this episode of World Series Rewind with a 2-4-4. Ace pitcher on Vukovich. No. Utility on Tom Hare. He's not. That is going to be a men on base result, -1 for the black die if control. Vukovich does not have control, so therefore that 4 is going to stay putting the runners at the corners. For Lonnie Smith to bat off the men on base chart. It's a 2d6 roll, sorry. 36. Active batter gets runners advance 2 bases single plus a stolen base. Lonnie Smith does it yet again. He will get runners advance 2 bases single, so the runner, only one run is going to come across home to score, though. The runner on third scores, the runner on first goes to third, and with that, Smith will also trot his way to first for a single, proceeds then for his second stolen base of the series, as it will be second and third for Keith Hernandez off the men on base chart. 25. Iron fielder commits the error. Ted Simmons is not an iron fielder, so therefore it will be a ground out to end the top half of the first, but not before the Cardinals started to score one. They started the threat over the Brewers, but they scored one and left 2 ducks on the pond. With that being said, we head to the bottom half of the inning. It's Cardinals 1, and the Brewers are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. It's going to be a 1-2-6 for Ben Ogleby, and it reads Struggler or Gilded on Forsch. He's not. Hero on Ogleby. He's not a hero. So therefore, that's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Ben Ogleby has semi-home run king. The decider die was not used. Struggling or Gilded, no. Hero, no. So yes, decider die was not used. Man, my goodness, folks. Ben Ogleby put a charge into this one. High and deep to right. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Ben Ogleby will will tie up the ball game thanks to a solo home run. It's all of a sudden all knotted up at 1 after 1 inning of play between the Cardinals and the Brewers for game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind as part of Field of Dreams Week. 1-1-5. Struggler on Vukovich. No. Utility on Hendrick. No. Therefore, it'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die. If Flash, Vukovic does not have Flash. So therefore, that one is going to stay putting the runner on at first base for Daryl Porter. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 35. Control pitcher. No, Vukovic does not have control. He walked Porter to bring up Willie McGee off the men on base chart with another 35. Control pitcher. No, Vukovic does not have control. So therefore, the bases are loaded. Back-to-back walks for the Cardinals here. Uh, Here batting in the top half of the second. And now it's really important that Pete Vukovic gets the team back in the dugout with no runs coming here in the top half of the second here at the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's on to Ken Oberkfell to keep the rally going for the Cardinals. Let's see what he gets off the men on base chart. 22. Batting at home. No, the Cardinals are on the road this time around for game 2. So therefore, it will be a flyout. And nice job by the Brewers to keep the Cardinals at bay. They threaten but do not score, but they do leave some wandering little ducklings on the pond trying to look for their mother. And somehow, some way, they got lost. Unreal. How rude. With that being said, we head to the bottom half of the second with your score all knotted up at 1 between the Cardinals and the Brewers. 236. Struggler or Gilded on Force? No. Sad sack on Gorman Thomas. He is not a sad sack. That's going to be an RBI question mark result. And folks, Gorman Thomas is going to get the RBI for the Milwaukee Brewers as they take a 2-1 lead over the Cardinals here in game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind, as the score is now Brewers 2 and the Cardinals 1. 133. Ace on Vukovic. No. Stat sack on the Wizard Ozzie Smith. He is not. That is going to be a RBI question mark result, and it seems the decider die says no. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 1 dot. That will seal up the deal for the first 2.5 innings here at the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with your score Brewers 2 and the Cardinals 1. 136. Ace on Force. No. Hero. Yes, Hero on Don Money, the designated hitter for this game. He's a semi-hero, and the decider die says yes, he is. So therefore, it will be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. Don Money is stoic, and unfortunately, it will end up being a no runs result of a 3 blank. And that is going to end the first 3 innings here at the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with your score Brewers 2 and the Cardinals 1. 224. Ace on Vukovic. No. Utility on Dane Iorg. No. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Vukovic does not have control. Iorg is going to go down to second base for Tom Hare, the bat off the men on base chart. We have a 14. Scrapper hits single. Unfortunately, Tom Hare is a scrapper, so therefore it will be a single, and that is all the Cardinals are going to get here in this top half of the fourth. We go to the bottom half of the inning with your score: Brewers 2 and the Cardinals 1. 2-4-5. Here we are. Struggler on Force. He's not. Sack on Edwards. No. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die. If Flash or control, Edwards, Force has control. So that 2 will be reduced to a 1, putting Edwards on at first base for Jim Gantner. He will take his hacks off the men on base charts with and 11, batting team harmony or pitching team decided. And again, throughout the entirety of, I know you guys are really sick and tired of me saying this. No team, and I mean no team, whether home or away, is not taking full advantage of who's harmonious or who's decided or not throughout the entirety or throughout the remaining few episodes of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. So with that being said, it will be a ground out to end the bottom half of the fourth. The Brewers leave a man on as it remains 2-1 in favor of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers. 4-5-5. Workman on Vukovic. No. 4-5-5. Here we are. Utility on Lonnie Smith. He's not a utility batter. Therefore, it'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die. If flash or control, Vukovic does not have either runners at the corners for Keith Hernandez off the men on base chart. 16. Good eye. No, Keith Hernandez does not have a good eye. So therefore, it will be a strikeout to end the top half of the fifth with your score remaining 2-1 in favor of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers. 3-5-6. Force, are you a workman? It seems you're not. Champion on Molitor. He is not a champ, so therefore it'll be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Paul Molitor is a semi-slugger. The decider die says no. Workman, no. Champ, no. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, black die was a 6, and it seems Paul Molitor does not have slugger according to the decider die. So therefore, it'll be a no runs result of a 3-dot. And that is going to seal up the deal for the first 5 innings of play here at the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with your score: Brewers 2 and the Cardinals 1. 3-4-6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the semi-precious innings, and I go by with the decider die as dot. He's fresh. Blank. He's not. Since we're in the semi-precious innings, Pete Vukovic is not fresh according to the decider die. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. George Hendrick is a semi-stoic runner. The decider die says he is. Wow. So go big or go home are the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're going to bring up Darrell Porter off the men on base chart. It's a 12. Slugger hits a home run. Darrell Porter is a slugger. Therefore, this ball is hit high, far, and gone. Darrell Porter will hit a 2-run home run to give the Cardinals the lead 3-2 over the Milwaukee Brewers. Unbelievable, folks. We head back to the men on base chart for Willie McGee's at bat. 24. Gold fielder makes the out. Robin Yount is not a gold fielder, so therefore, credit and error, E6 on Robin Yount, and Willie McGee will go to first base for Ken Oberkfell. and he will take his hacks off the men on base chart with a 25. Iron fielder commits the error. Cecil Cooper is not an iron fielder, so therefore that will end up being a ground out to end the top half of the sixth inning, but not before damage was done as uh, Daryl Porter delivered a two-run home run, putting the Cardinals in front by the score of 3-2 over the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers here in Game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. One five five. Ace on Force. No. Hero on Simmons. No. That'll be a no runs result of a 5 dot. And we head and excuse me, as we end the first 6 innings of game 2, the score is now remaining Cardinals 3, Brewers 2. Timeout. We're on our way to the 7th inning here at the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with Pete Ladd on the hill for the Milwaukee Brewers. He has semi-flash and semi-control, and for this at-bat against the Wizard Ozzie Smith, Pete Ladd will have the full extent use of the flash quality. With that being said, the Cardinals are in front of the Brewers as we resume play here in the top half of the 7th inning of the score, Cardinals 3, and the Brewers 2. 1-2-5. Pitcher not fresh. Well, Pete Ladd was brought into the game as the bullpen hero arm, so he is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. Do we have a champion batter on Ozzie Smith? It seems we do not. So therefore, it will be a no runs result of a 2 dot, and that will take us to the stretch here at the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with your score remaining Cardinals 3 and the Brewers 2. One 5 as we resume play. Struggler on Force, no. Utility on Ben Ogilvy, no. That's going to be a men on base result, -1 for the black die. If flash, it seems Force does not have flash, so therefore that one is going to stay put in the runner on at first base for Gorman Thomas. He'll take his hacks off the men on base chart with, oh my God, 15 scrapper hits double. Unfortunately, Gorman Thomas is not a scrapper, so therefore this ball is hit high, far, and out of here. Gorman Thomas is going to put the Brewers in front 4-3 here in game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Oh man, oh man, one batter too many for St. Louis pitching as the manager is really stunned here in game 2 of this episode of World Series Rewind. We head to the 8th inning with your score now, Brewers 4 and the Cardinals 3. 1-4-4. Struggler on Ladd. He's not a struggler. Sad sack on Iord. He's not a sad sack. So therefore, 1-4-4. Here we are. Men on base, -1 for the black die if control. Ladd has semi-control, and the decider die says yes, he does. That one will be reduced to a big fat goose egg, and it will be a no runs result of a 4 dot for flash and a dot for control. That's going to do it for the top half of the 8th. We go to the bottom half of the inning with your score, Brewers 4 and the Cardinals 3. We do see a new bullpen arm trotting in for the bullpen. Too little, too late, if you ask me. But is it, though? We'll find out sooner rather than later after we take this really quick timeout. We're back at the Old County Stadium in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in a wild back and forth game for game two of this episode of World Series Rewind. As Doug Bear will be on the hill for the Cardinals. He has semi ace, semi flash, and semi control. For this at bat against Don Money, Bear will have the full extent use of the full ace quality. With that being said, the Brewers hang on to their 1-run lead. It's 4-3 Brewers as we resume play here in the bottom half of the eighth inning. 4, 5, 6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Bear was brought into the game, so he is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. Champ on Money. He is not a champ. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Don Money has home run king. The Brewers are going to tack on an insurance run thanks to a solo home run by Don Money. And we now head to the ninth inning. Last call for the Brewers, or excuse me, last call for the Cardinals, I should say, as it is now Brewers 5 and the Cardinals 3. 2-4-4. 2-4-4. Here we are. Ace pitcher on Ladd. He's not an ace. Utility on Hare. He's not. That's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die of control. Ladd has semi control. The decider die was not used. Ace, no. Utility, no. Yes, it was not used. So from 4 to a 3, they're going to place the runners on at first and second for Lonnie Smith. 23. Eager grounds out. Lonnie Smith is not an eager batter. The bases are loaded, full of Redbirds. We are heading to the at bat of Keith Hernandez off the men on base chart with a 33. Scrapper hits a single. Keith Hernandez is a semi scrapper, and the decider die says yes, he is. It's a 1-run game now. The Cardinals are down by 1. It's Brewers 5, Cardinals 4, thanks to a bases loaded single for Keith Hernandez. And that'll bring out George Hendrick to hopefully put the nail in the coffin in this one to send this series back to St. Louis for a possible sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers. Will that happen? Let's find out. 45. Fresh pitcher gets the ground out. Well, Doug Bear is considered fresh because he is the bullpen hero arm for, Pete Ladd. I'm sorry. Pete Ladd, I should say, is the bullpen hero arm. So therefore, this series is going back to Busch Stadium, all tied up, as it will be a ground out to end the ball game. And your final score, as the Cardinals threaten, but they managed to score 1, it's all of a sudden now a series now, folks. We head back to St. Louis for a winner-take-all matchup between the Brewers and the Cardinals, as the Brewers hang on to win game 2 by the final score of 5-4. Stay tuned for the game 2 game summary presented by your favorite Bitty Beer products. And again, we remind you, if you choose to drink Bitty Beer, please remember to drink responsibly. As always, it has big taste at a bitty price. It's Bitty Beer. Once again, the final score for game 2 is the Brewers tie up this World Series rewind matchup at a game apiece, looking for a pot look as both these teams are looking for that final nail in the coffin to win this episode of World Series Rewind, as the Brewers win game 2 by the final score of 5-4. Winner takes it all. That's right, folks. Another episode with a winner take all game has come to the History Maker Baseball Express Hour. This time, the Brewers and the Cardinals have each won a game in this episode. World Series Rewind. Now we have to decide, will the Cardinals maintain their World Series crown, or will the Brewers actually uh, would possibly get their first ever World Series victory here as a franchise? With that being said, your starting pitching matchups will be as follows. John Stuper will be on the hill for the Cardinals, and Moose Haas will be opposing him in the bottom half of the first inning. With that being said, uh, with uh, with all the pleasantries and all the pomp and circumstance out of the way, and all the introductions taken care of, it's time to rumble for Game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. One, 4, 6. Let's see here. Here we are. Acer Dynamic on Stuper. No. Sad sack on Marshall Edwards. He's not a sad sack. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Stuper has semi-control, and the decider die says he does. So therefore, that 6 will be reduced to a 5. Put in the runners on at second and third for Jim Gantner off the men on base chart. 24, Goldfielder makes the out. Daryl Porter is the catcher for this ball game. He is not gold, so therefore it will be an error putting scoring the run for the Brewers. We'll count that as a earned run, and it will be first and third for Paul Molitor off the men on base chart. We got a 12. Slugger hits home run. Paul Molitor is a semi-slugger, and the decider die says yes, he is. That is going to be hit high, far, and gone. And the Brewers jump out to a 4-0 lead over the and the Brewers jump out to a 4-0 lead over the St. Louis Cardinals. Those 3 runs will be unearned. We roll back on the main chart, or excuse me, on the men on base result on the men on base charts with, oh wow, a 15. Scrapper hits double. Robin Yount is not a scrapper. This time it will count as an earned run. Back-to-back jacks. And in the first inning, the Brewers jump out to a 5-0 lead over the St. Louis Cardinals. Unbelievable. We go to the bottom half of the first inning with Brewers leading it 5, and the Cardinals are coming to bat in their half of the first inning. Excuse me. 2-4-6. Star on Moose Haas. He is not a star. Champ on Willie McGee. He's not a champ. Therefore, it's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Willie McGee does not have home run king or slugger. So therefore, that is going to do it for the first inning of play here at Busch Memorial Stadium with your score: Brewers 5 and the Cardinals nothing. 2-4-4. Ace on Stuper. No. Utility on Cooper. No. That'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. It seems Stuper has semi-control, and the decider die says he does. Runners on first and second once more for the Brew Crew. And that is going to bring up Ted Simmons off the men on base chart. 46. Same reliever gets the strikeout. And again, when we say same, it's righty versus righty, lefty versus lefty. Since we have a switch hitter against a right-handed pitcher, Ted Simmons, usually it's against right-handed pitcher, the switch hitter will bat left-handed. But if it's against a left-hander, he would bat right-handed. So therefore, it's not the same. So therefore, we head to the contact chart, and I usually roll the red die for my contact chart results. It's a 1. Okay, so first things first, we're going to look for a whipper batter and a flash pitcher. We do not have it, so therefore, the Brewers are going to tack on another run. And folks, I think they have just chased John Stupor from this ball game, as we do see the manager shake the hand and give Stupor a pat on the back. And that is going to probably be it for John Stupor as the Brewers jump out in front 6-0 after an inning and a half here at Old Busch Stadium here in St. Louis, Missouri. Four, 4-4-6. Here we are. Star pitcher on Moose Haas. No. Hero on Oberkfell. He's a semi-hero, and the decider die says he's not. Therefore, it'll be a no-runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Oberkfell does not have home run king or slugger. Therefore, that is going to be it for the first 2 innings here at Old Busch Stadium. With your score, Brewers 6, Cardinals nothing, as we do see a new bullpen arm trotting in for the bullpen for the Cardinals, as the Brewers did their job to chase John Stupor from this ball game, as it's a no-runs result of a 6 blank 4-4-6. Oh, excuse me, 4-4-6. It was star no, hero no. So yes, Saturday was not used, so therefore it's a 6 blank no runs result to end the first 2 innings here at Old Busch Stadium with your score: Brewers 6, Cardinals nothing. Timeout. Already in the 3rd inning, the Brewers did the Cardinals a really bad promise. Gave the Cardinals fans a bad promise to look at here, as Bruce Sutter will be on the hill for the Cardinals, as he has star, semi-flash, and semi-control for this at-bat against Ben Oglivie. Bruce Sutter will have the full extent use of the flash quality. With that being said, we resume action in the top half of the 3rd with the Brewers in front of the Cardinals 6-0. 2-3-4. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Sutter is the bullpen hero arm, and he is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. Sad sack on Oglivie. No, that's going to be a men on base result. -1 for the black die if control. Sutter has semi-control. The decider die says he does not have it. So therefore, that's going to put runners on at first and second once more for Gorman Thomas to hit off the men on base chart. 44. Wild? No, Sutter is not wild. So therefore, it will be a flyout to end the top half of the 3rd. Got to get the bats going here, because the World Series crown is really slipping away from the Cardinals. It's Brewers 6, Cardinals nothing, as we head to the bottom half of the 3rd inning. Four, 6. Star on Haas. No. Hero on Smith. No. That's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Ozzie Smith does not have home run king or slugger, so therefore that'll be a no runs result of a 4 blank. Yes, 4 blank, and that will do it for the first 3 innings. The Brewers jump out in front of the Cardinals after the first 3 innings, 6-0. 4-5-6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, Brent Sutter is considered the bullpen hero arm, so he is considered fresh for the remainder of the contest. Champion on Edwards. No. That's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Marshall Edwards does not have home run king or slugger printed on his card. So therefore, it will be a no runs result of a 5 dot for flash. Yes, dot for flash and a dot for control. That's going to do it for the first 3.5 innings here at Old Busch Stadium here in St. Louis for game 3 of this episode of World Series Rewind. Your score, Brewers 6, Cardinals nothing. One, three, four. Ace on Haas. No. Champ on Tom Hare. No. It's going to be a no runs. Yes, no runs result of a 4 blank. And that will seal up the deal for the first 4 innings here at Old Busch Stadium with your score, Brewers 6 and the Cardinals nothing. 2, 3, 4. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, this is like the 3rd time that this result has popped up when Brent Suter came in. Unbelievable. Again, Brent Suter is the bullpen hero arm. He is considered fresh for the remainder of the game. Stop giving me these results. Jeez. Satsack on Gantner. No. That is going to be a men on base result, -1 to the black die of control. Suter has control. The decider die says he does not have it, so 4 to a 3. Go. Oh, excuse me. It'll be runners on first and third, I should say. Sorry about that. As it will be Paul Molitor's turn up the dish off the men on base chart. I forgot. If they have it, it reduces by 1. And if it didn't, and if they didn't have it, it stays put. So that being said, we head to the men on base chart with a 34. Slugger hits double. Paul Molitor is a semi-slugger, and the decider die says he is. That is unbelievable, folks. 7-0 now, as it is 2 bases on double, so it's second and third. The score now is 7-0 Brewers, as they are looking to as the Brewers are looking to capture their first World Series here on our tabletop for this episode of World Series Rewind. It is so unbelievable. So that being said, we resume off the men on base chart with a 23. Eager grounds out. Robin Yount is a semi-eager, and the decider die says he's not. Bases loaded walk. Unbelievable, folks. I think the umpire is squeezing the Brewers here a little bit, don't you think? I think they're squeezing them. Let's see what goes down. 23. Eager grounds out. Cooper is an eager batter. He grounds out, and not before the Brewers tack on 1 more run. They leave ducklings on the pond. It's now Brewers 7, Cardinals nothing, as we head to the bottom half of the 5th inning. 3, 4, 6. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the semi-freshest innings technically for Moose Haas, so therefore he's not fresh. This is the Cardinals' chance to somehow get a rally going. Man on base with a base running adjustment is the call. Lonnie Smith is active, so therefore from 4 to a 5, that'll place runners at second and third. It's a start. That'll bring up Keith Hernandez off the men on base chart. 26. Home run king hits a home run. It seems Keith Hernandez is not a home run king, so therefore it will be a contact result, and I usually roll the red die for my contact chart results. It's a 2. Satsack on Hernandez. No, the Cardinals are finally going to get on the board. It's now Brewers 7, Cardinals 1, as we head to the 6th inning here at Old Busch Stadium here in St. Louis, Missouri, with your score, Brewers 7 and the Cardinals 1. 145. Ace or dynamic on, excuse me, Ace or dynamic on Suter. No. Sad sack on Cooper batted. So it's on Simmons. 145. Sad sack on Simmons. No. It'll be a men on base result. -1 for the black die at flash. Suter has semi flash, and the decider die says he does not have it. That is not good. Runners on second and third for Ben Ogilvy to bat off the men on base chart. 46. Same reliever gets the strikeout. Since we have a righty versus lefty matchup, they're not the same. So therefore, it will be a contact result with a 4. Champ or hero? Ben Ogilvy has neither champ, neither is he a hero. So therefore, it will be a ground out. That's good. Keep the score right there. Down by 6. It's Brewers 7 and the Cardinals 1. We head to the bottom half of the 6th by that score. 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Here we are. Pitcher not fresh. Well, again, we're in the semi-freshest innings, and Moose Haas is considered not fresh. So therefore, it'll be a men on base result with a base running adjustment. George Hendrick is a semi-stoic runner, and the decider die says he's not. That's a good start. Runners on first and third for Daryl Porter. He'll bat off the men on base chart. 16. Good eye? No, Porter does not have a good eye. So therefore, that is going to be a strikeout. And that'll probably be the end of the day for Moose Haas. So therefore, after 6 innings of play, your score is now 7-1 in favor of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers. 2, 3, 6. 2, 3, 6. Here we are. Struggler or Gilded on Suter? No. Statsack on Thomas? No. That's going to be an RBI question mark checking. Unbelievable. The black die is a 6, and any time when the RBI question mark result comes up, and the decider die says dot, and the black die, in this case, the white number says 6, it's not only 1 RBI, it's 2 RBI. So the Brewers tack on 2 more runs thanks to a 2 RBI knock by Gorman Thomas, as it is now Brewers 9 and the Cardinals 1. We head to the stretch by that score. Timeout. And I don't know how many fans of the Cardinals left over the course of this game, but it has been all Brewers, as the score is now 9-1 in favor of the 82 Brewers, as Jim Slayton will be on the hill for the Brew Crew, as he has semi-star, semi-flash, and semi-control for this at-bat against Willie McGee. Slayton will have the full extent use of the star quality. With that being said, we resume action here in the bottom half of the 7th with your score, Brewers 9 and the Cardinals 1. 336. 336. Here we are. Workman on Slayton. He's not. Sadsack on McGee. He's not. That's going to be an RBI question mark check. And unfortunately, the decider die says no. So therefore, it will be a no runs result of a 6 dot for flash and a dot for control. That's going to do it for the first 7 innings here at the Old Busch Stadium here in St. Louis with your score, all Brewers 9-1. 235. Star on Suter. He is a star, so therefore it will be a no runs result of a 2 blank for flash and a blank for control. And that will do it for the first 7.5 innings here at the ballpark, with your score still remaining 9-1 in favor of the 82 Milwaukee Brewers. Three, five, six. Workman on Slayton. No. Champ on Oberkfell. He's not. That's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Oberkfell does not have home run king. Neither does he have slugger. So therefore, that will do it for the first 8 innings here at Old Busch Stadium. Your score remains 9-1 in favor of the Milwaukee Brewers. Head of the 9th inning by that score. 2-4-6. Star on Suter. He is a star, so therefore it'll be a no runs result of a 4 blank for Flash and a dot for Control. Last call for the Redbirds. We head to the bottom of the 9th, down by 8. It's Brewers 9, Cardinals 1. 1-2-6. Struggler or Gilded on Slayton? No. Hero on Smith? No. That's going to be a no runs result with a possibility of a solo home run. Ozzie Smith does not have home run king or slugger, and the Milwaukee Brewers, in dominant fashion from the word go, have defeated the St. Louis Cardinals here in this episode of World Series Rewind, 2-1, as they beat the Cardinals here in game 3 by the final score of 9-1. We hope that you enjoyed this Midwestern feel episode of World Series Rewind as we rewound the clock back to 1982 and featured the St. Louis Cardinals as they took on the Milwaukee Brewers as we relived their fall classic from 1982. It seems we ran out of time for today, but never fear. Let's see what's coming up next time. And if you will build it, they will come. As we will feature the first ever Field of Dreams game from August 12th of 2021 as the New York Yankees take on the Chicago White Sox. Your probable starters are Andrew Heaney and Lance Lynn on the latest installment of MLB Memorable Games. Who will come on top of this one? Stay tuned to find out for yourself next time here on the History Maker Baseball Express Hour when we go full play once more. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the History Maker Baseball Express Hour that was being played with History Maker Baseball Express. We look forward to bringing you more matchups of Rivalry Night, World Series Rewind, Cross Era Showdown, and a blast from the past as we revisit some classic and memorable games from Major League Baseball throughout the 2026 Major League Baseball regular season.